Hi guys, it's Sydney or Craftiebunnies here, and today I have the Noob's Guide to Polymer Clay, and this is going to be the second episode. I am still considering the name, I just haven't found a one that I really liked yet. But the people who did suggest things, thank you so much, it does really mean a lot to me. So anyways, this is going to be the second part of my series, and this is going to be the tools. So again, if you're a beginner and you don't know what tools to buy or what tools you need, then this is a perfect video for you, because instead of buying some tools, you can just use stuff around your house instead of spending all that money, and especially if you're a beginner. So let's get started.
Section is going to be this cutting your clay, and I'm not a serial killer. I just have a lot of different things to cut clay with. So we're just going to start with the ones that you can find at the craft store. So these three you can find at the craft store. And just for a precaution, these are very sharp, so please be careful when using them. Please don't cut yourself by accident. I cut myself a lot with these, so you will cut yourself eventually, but just try to be as careful as you can. So the first one is just this rigid one, and this came in a set of 3 by Sculpey, and you can find this at the craft store for about like $10 maybe. I forgot how much it was. Then there's this larger rigid one, and then there's just this straight one, and they all are very flexible. Next, I'm going to show you this X-Acto knife. And this is the one I probably use the most, and that's why it's really dirty. So these are a little more expensive. They're about $3.50 for one, and they work really well. And these are really sharp, so please be careful when using them. And this is perfect for polymer clay if you want to use it, but you're more likely going to cut yourself with this though. Next, you can find these at the hardware store, or even if your dad's has a toolbox like mine. You probably can find these utility knives at the hardware store, or even maybe your dad's toolbox. I stole this from my dad. And yeah, and with that, it came with these mini knives, and you can cut these with polymer clay too. They make straight lines, which are really nice. And finally, you can definitely find these at the hardware store. I found a pack. There's 5 in a pack, and there's around 20 of them. And these are pretty cheap. They're about $3, and they're really easy to find. So I highly suggest you start out with these. So this is kind of like the blending section. For polymer clay, you do need to blend your charms in together, so it looks all unified together, and it will stay together when it's baked. So first, I'm going to start off with this Sculpey set that I got from Michael's, and this one was kind of pricey. It was pretty expensive. It was around $20, and it's basically a 1 in 5 set. So it has a magnetic. It's magnetic, so you can just pop this in, and it just stays together. And these have a this blending tool, and the ones with the cover ones are this one is going to be a knife. This one is a I forgot what it was called. It's a needle tool, and then the next one is a ball tool, and this one is a blending tool. And all these look really great, they just stay together. Next, I got these 3 from the set by Sculpey again, and these are quite expensive too, so I don't recommend you getting this either unless you want to. And they're just ball tools on the front and blending tools on the back, and these work really well. Finally, this one is the one I highly suggest. Are these ball tools that you can get from eBay or online for $2 in a set of 5. I'm missing the other 2, but these are perfect for beginners. They help you blend things. You can make eyes for kawaii characters and stuff like that, and it's really helpful. This last section is just going to be a texturing section or an other section, and these things you probably already have around your house, so you're just going to need a toothbrush, and this is for texturing clay for realistic pastries or anything like that. And only use this for polymer clay. Do not use this and then brush your teeth, because polymer clay is non-toxic, but it's just not good for you to use this when it's already been used for polymer clay. Then you just need some paintbrushes, and I use this one for painting small details, this one for glazing, and this one for chalk pastels when I want to put blush or anything like this. And I got these from a set of 25 from Rite Aid, and they're about $8, which is a pretty good deal. And finally, you're just gonna need some tin foil. You probably have this around your house. You you just need this to texture things, and you don't absolutely need this, but I recommend you do because it's really easy to find, and you can definitely need all this stuff if you want to try texturing your clay or want to do realistic types of.
The next few items I'm going to show you are just things that are really big and they won't fit in the frame. So this is just some chalk pastels that you can get from the craft store, and this one is this one's a good deal. It's just that the colors are not very vibrant, so I don't recommend you getting this one because it's not very vibrant and you have to scrape off a lot just to get the tiniest amount of color out. So I don't recommend you getting this. The bigger set of that I haven't tried yet, but I have bought it. And this one is just a set of 24, and it's all chalk pastels. And I think I've used only the black one so far from this, and it's really good and it's more vibrant and stuff like that. And this one was $8, and I think it's a pretty good deal for it's a pretty good deal for all of this 24 pieces. Next, if you don't have those two, this option is definitely better for beginners. It's just this makeup set. I stole this from my older sister because she didn't use it anymore, and these are very pigmented, so they work really well for Polymer Clay, and you can just use it for blush or shading or texture shading your pastries and stuff like this. So this is really good, and you can just use makeup for it. And finally, I have the biggest one of all, and it is going to be this pasta machine. I do not recommend you getting this if you're a beginner though. This pasta machine just rolls out clay and stuff like that, but if you don't have this, you can definitely use a marker, or you can use the Sculpey clay roller. Sculpey clay roller is a little expensive too, so I definitely recommend you just using a marker because it is exactly the same thing. And just make sure it's not a marker with writing on it, like when you have the Crayola markers that has Crayola over it, or else the text will transfer onto the clay. So just make sure it's just blank, and you can just use those to roll out your clay.
So these are just some miscellaneous stuff that you're going to need too. Like I said before, this is just a Sculpey acrylic roller, and you don't need to buy this because it was kind of pricey, and yeah. You can just use a regular old marker, and again, I recommend it doesn't have any writing on it, or else when you roll it out your clay, the writing will transfer onto the clay. So just make sure this is blank, or you can just take some acetone and just wipe it off with a Q-tip. Speaking of acetone and Q-tips, you're going to need some acetone, which is nail polish remover, or some rubbing alcohol, and a Q-tip to clean off your charms, and this just get rid of all the dust or fingerprints that you got onto it that you don't want. And this works great. Acetone is more powerful than rubbing alcohol, so you can definitely use this after you bake your charms too. And just a warning, please keep this away from any kind of electricity, or else it could set fire. And also, you're going to need some translucent liquid Sculpey or Bacon Bond. They are the same exact thing, and this is just going to help you attach your charms or even make frosting, which is really good. And if you're using Fimo clay, then I highly recommend you get Sculpey clay softener, and you can just put it on and just condition it, and it'll be really soft. Or you can just get some baby oil and put it into your clay, and that will also make your clay really soft. This section is optional, and these are just super glues because Polymer Clay does tend to break, and especially if you don't handle it with care. So you're just going to need to glue your pieces back together, and these are the glues that I've used, and I'm just going to tell you which ones that I recommend. I highly recommend this one because Scotch is very inexpensive. It's like $2 that you can get from the dollar store or the hardware store, and this is really good because it has a very fine tip, and since most of my charms are really small, and if they do break, I like to have the fine tips, so it's easier to spread it on, and I won't get super glue all over my hands because that has happened before. And the next one is Crazy Glue. Crazy Glue is good for a lot of projects. My dad loves Crazy Glue, but I don't know if I'm stupid or not, but I can never get this to work. And if you do want to get Crazy Glue, I suggest you get the paint-on one, the one with the little paintbrush attached to it. And finally, there is E6000, and E6000 section is just paint, and you're gonna need. This is optional though. You don't need to paint your charms. This is just if you want to make chibis and you can paint the eyes, but if not, you can just always draw on the eyes with like a fine tip pen. But I recommend you not do that and use paints because the ones that you use with a fine tip pen or Sharpies do not stay on long enough and they tend to smudge really easily. So this is just a better option for you. So all these paints you can get at Michael's or any local craft store. I just have Folk Art, and then there's just Americana, Craftsmart, and Martha Stewart, and this metallic one. And paints are pretty cheap if you go to Michael's because they're around like 60 cents. 60 cents for paint, which is really good, so they're not really that inexpensive, and you can definitely just find these at any craft store you go to. And then if you want, you can also get a mixing palette. My sister got me this from Japan, and it was like really cheap over there. So you don't need this fancy mixing palette. You can just use like a plastic cup or like even like a paper to mix your paints on, so you don't have to buy all the different colors of clay.
These are just glazes, and you don't have to glaze your charm. It's just that you the reasons why people glaze their charm is that they want protection, they want it to be shiny, and those are mainly the two reasons why. I just use Duraclear, and I love Duraclear. It's like my favorite glaze ever, and I use metal varnish, or you can use satin varnish, and these are the 8 fluid ounce ones. That's why they're so big, so they're a little bit more pricey. I recommend you get the smaller one, which is the 2 ounce one, for about $2 at the craft store, and plus the small ones do last you a while. I've used the small one and it's been about like maybe 6 months and I haven't run out of it, so it's a pretty good deal. And you can also glaze your charms with resin, but if you're a beginner, I don't suggest you glaze your charms with resin. So I'm just going to here and show you the difference. This is just glazed with normal glaze, and it is really shiny still. Then I have this one which I glaze with resin, which is really shiny. So again, if you're a beginner, I don't recommend you glazing with resin because resin is extremely expensive. So I just recommend you glazing with just any kind of glaze you want to use. You can use Duraclear, you can use Triple Zik, or anything like that. You can even go to the hardware store and get one for a cheaper price. I don't recommend you using nail polish. Don't use nail polish because it makes your charm really sticky and it yellows over time. And I do not recommend you use Mod Podge because Mod Podge gets extremely sticky and then all your charms will stick together. I've used Mod Podge before and it didn't really work out well. So that is it for this video. I hope you like it and it was thorough enough for all of you beginners. And the next episode will be findings and the tools with findings and what you need for findings if you want to make your charms into jewelry, which I like to do, and that's why most of my charms have eye pins in it. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching. Bye!